Joining me now is Gordana Slepcev. She is the COO of Lomiko Metals. Thanks for coming in. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for the invite. I'm happy to be here today and, provide some inputs and updates about Lomiko and our projects.
Absolutely. We've talked to your CEO a couple of times, Belinda Labatt, so it's nice to meet you and to do this. So just let's start from a broad perspective in terms of the need in the Western world for non-China graphite and how Lomiko is positioned, because you've got this large Lalute deposit in Quebec.
Yeah, I think it doesn't really make sense to be, doing energy transition and then spending so much money and the effort in transporting materials, excavating somewhere, moving that to China, processing there. So what we have to do in order to decarbonize, and we truly believe into this, is really produce and supply locally. So there is probably somewhere about 55 plants or the industry installations down in U.S. along the Battery Highway I-75 that we can supply materials to. And of course, in the province of Quebec, where the projects are, there is quite a big developed battery plant and installations down in Bécancour. So why would we ship anywhere else? And then, of course, we have to protect our own systems, our own economy, and our own jobs. So yeah, it's a need to keep the things here, materials, and of course develop these technologies. We have to admit China has a dominance here. 95% of all the graphites processed there. So we have to learn and establish our own production, local production. And there are some groups that are of course starting with production of the spherical graphite in US, importing some from outside of the US. So we're hoping to come and fill these markets. That's the goal.
Very good. Now, one of the things the Lomiko team is working on right now is this beep map prospecting and sampling. Can you explain that? Because you're trying to get a better understanding of the property, right? And to explain that and the work that's being done.
Yeah, so beep mapping really works very well for early stage projects because graphite conduct electricity. That's why. So all these graphite deposits could be discovered fairly easily. So we've been conducting these programs since last year. We have acquired 7 property actually early stage. One of them has historic pre-feasibility study, that's Carmen. But North Row, Rousseau, Boyd, Lac Monesh, and Dieppe, they're all newer properties we acquired. We did geophysical surveys, we identified the targets, and last year we followed up. Out of these 6 properties, actually 4 had really high responses, really high grades in the range 10 to 20 plus 20% carbon content. So this year we also follow up with exploration program in the Laurentides. All these properties are around 50 kilometers to 100 from Lalute. So Lalute at some point could be centralized processing facility for these properties. So yeah, this program works very well. We're actually expecting some results. Some assays are coming in for all of these properties. So we're really excited about the results. And also we have been doing some prospecting on Lalute property. That it's a huge land package, 4,500 square kilometers. So yeah.
That is big. That is big, yeah. Lots of ground to cover there.
Yeah.
So is it premature to look ahead to or have a timeline to a pre-feasibility study, or is there a rough idea when that might be?
Well, that's all dependent on the financing. Of course, talk maybe a little bit later more about the grants and the work we've been doing there, but we have secured 50% of the financing for that work and all the other works to come to the construction decision. So for us, it's more matter of the financing and raising the funds in this climate, which we all know it's difficult a bit, to really progress this work. So of course we can start tomorrow, and we have all the information and proposals in hand. It's going to take 9 to 12 months to finish.
Now, Belinda's talked before about having regular discussions about partnerships and alliances. Are there any updates in that area?
Yeah, of course, we're looking to work, of course, with downstream groups because big thing with all critical minerals is really finding these offtakes and the sales. And of course, we're in discussions with many groups, and that leads to the need to produce more material actually to kind of facilitate these discussions. So we've been fortunate enough with testing to prove that our deposit is really first-class deposit. We have taken the rock and basically made it into the batteries to simplify, and they perform at the industry level. So we know we have a great deposit. Now we have, with any industrial project, you have to scale it up and prove it at the bigger and bigger scale. And that's basically what we're doing at this point. That's the planning.
Now, big changes coming in the U.S., as we know, with the incoming president-elect January 20th. We also know that Lomiko was awarded under the Defense Production Act that grant of $8.35 million U.S. several months ago, and that was a real milestone and historic for the company. So, do you foresee any sort of impact on Lomiko's business in the U.S. Or not? Will it be business as usual, despite the new administration?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. I mean, President Trump, the same as President Biden's administration, they're working to actually help out industry and, revive that production domestic. So I believe there would be no changes. So with that, as I mentioned, we've been getting about 11 million Canadian, and that covers for half of the cost of all the work that we need to do before we come to construction decision. So it's a great advantage for anybody that's interested really in the story and to support Lomiko, because half the cost is already secured by two federal governments. So that's a big vote of confidence, for me at least.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and you're referring to the Canadian government has supported the company financially as well. And so you've got this rock-to-battery piloting project in Canada. What can you tell us about that? Can you update us at all?
Yeah, so that's the project with the Canadian Natural Resources. So they provide 75% of all the cost. They provide, of course, it's all the repayment. So we need to secure the working capital. That's why we did some of the raises now. So we have started with the planning and plan to start in December and January with the permitting of the program. So it's going to take about 2.5, 3 years to finish that program. And there are many research institutions involved there. So this is scaling up of the work, everything that we've done so far. We're doing another process also in Quebec with Cretan grant. That's a Quebec grant that we have received $750K. So we're processing 1,100 kilograms, and then we're also building on that and expanding to 200 tons. And then we plan to install micronizing, spheronizing station, because graphite for the batteries and the anode has to be shaped and purified to 99.95% purity and very low level of contaminants. So yeah, we're looking forward to really that work. We have started talking with consultants, hiring people, moving that process slowly forward.
And you're also talking about financing, which you alluded to. The company recently raised $1 million in a non-brokered private placement. So how would you characterize the financial position of Lomiko right now?
We're a junior mining company. Of course, the money is always tight, and we're focusing the money where it needs to be on building the value for the company and the shareholders. So we decided to keep moving with the piloting and, of course, moving on some elements of the grant, because with DOD we have 5 years to finish that program, and with Cambro, the natural resources, we have about 3 years to finish that. So yeah, a lot of work to be done, so we can really incorporate all that work into feasibility study and come to the point that we can make a construction decision in 3 years, hopefully.
Okay.
Working on it.
Right. And then lastly, Gordana, for shareholders, for potential investors, you've been touching on a few of the points here, but what are some of the main catalysts that they can look forward to as we move into 2025 for Lomiko?
Well, it's really continuing with the work we've done so far, and it is on the bulk sample metallurgical testing, scaling up, and building these relationships with the downstream customers. That's the biggest focus. And also, of course, developing these early stage properties, as we believe graphite batteries would be here for many years to come. So we want to build that portfolio and be able to supply 30 to 40 years of the material.
Well, thank you for your time today,
You're welcome.
and we'll be following as usual.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Gordana Slepcev, COO of Lomiko Metals.